Hi, I'm Karen. We're here at Montavilla Sewing Center, and today we're talking about the Babylock Jazz 2. In this video, I'm going to show you how to thread the machine and how to wind the bobbin. So to start out with, when you unthread your machine, always cut the thread here at the top by the spool, and lifting your presser foot, pull out the excess thread through at the needle area. The reason for that is you don't want lint to build up in the tension disc by pulling your thread backwards through your machine. So make sure that the thread is always going towards the needle. Now when you put your spool of thread on, you want to have your thread coming from underneath like this, from behind and underneath like that. And then these cross-wound spools, when they tend to get a little empty, they want to spin a little bit, so I back this off just so that this can spin easily. Now we're going to start out showing you how to wind a bobbin. So to start out, we have this threader here. This thread guide is used both for bobbin winding and for threading the needle, but it's a little bit different for each of those applications. So to start out with, I'm going to show you, according to this little chart up here, how we thread this. So this is the front of the machine, and it's behind this that I'm going to put the thread. I'm going to put that under there and up into here and then down this way. Now that's going to be, oh, it fell out. There we go. Yeah. That's according to the thread guide. That's what it looks like right there. Then we go over here to this little hook here. Make sure it's under there. And giving it a little bit of tension, a little bit of uphill tension. I'm going to hang on to it with my other hand. It slipped out. I'm going to go under this and around like this. Again, that's according to your diagram up here. But this is important to make sure your thread is all the way underneath this tension disc, because it's going to give a little bit of tension as your thread is being wound on the bobbin. If your thread, if it's a little bit spongy when you're winding it, you may not have gotten it all the way under there. Okay, so now I'm going to cut my thread so it's a little bit shorter. Take my bobbin, and always use the same kind of bobbins that come with your machine. This is a plastic class 15 bobbins. And thread the bobbin right through the hole in the side, and the same on both sides, but right from inside to outside through the side of the bobbin. And we'll put that under there. I'm going to give this another little pull just to make sure it's all the way under there. Okay, now there's a little arrow here. We push that to the right. That means it's ready for bobbin winding. I'm going to hold the thread tail up as we start winding, and you notice that it's making several winds here while this thread is still attached. Now I'm going to snip it off, and then we can keep winding. The reason why I held that thread tail is that way it would make sure and cover that up. I'm going to cut that off a little bit more. There we go. Once we're done, you just pull that off, making sure that the bobbin winder spindle is pushed to the left. If you leave it pushed to the right, you won't be able to do any sewing because it kind of sets things in a different way underneath. Okay, so to put your bobbin into your bobbin case, first of all, you move this little lever to the right and then push down on that corner. I'm going to show you that again. So push this to the right, and you see it barely comes up, but if you push down, it lifts up the cover very nicely. And there's actually a little word that says push right there. To put your bobbin in, make sure that the bobbin thread tail is to the left and downwards. So it kind of looks like the letter P. So we put that in there. Make sure that the thread comes right into that little groove right there in front, and then stop it from spinning, which gives a little tension on the thread tail as you pull it to the back. And you can see how it's sunk right down between those little two pieces of metal. This is the thread tension for your bobbin, that area. So that's important to get that in there. Then pull this around like that, put your cover back on, and then you can pull your thread tail. There's a little cutter right there. You can snip that off. Now the thread tail of the bobbin is just the right length so that you can start sewing. You don't need to pull up your bobbin thread. But let's say you do want to pull up your bobbin thread, and there are situations where you do. What you want to do is when you thread this, pull it like this, again, same way. But this time, don't cut it off. Just leave it right like that. Just leave that thread tail hanging. Okay, so for threading your machine, I'm going to show you how to do this. First of all, you want to make sure that your needle is in the all the way up position. So I'm going to go needle down, needle up. Now it's where it needs to be for threading your needle. Okay, so we're going to go with this thread guide again, but this time I'm going behind it and then towards the back. So it's just in that little area right there. Then, using a little bit of uphill pressure, I'm going underneath here and around that little post, and it doesn't matter which side that goes on that guide. This guide, by the way, is for if you're doing twin needle sewing, which is where you have a spool pin here and another spool pin, auxiliary spool pin right there, using 2 spools of thread. A twin needle looks like this. This is what a twin needle looks like. And that's where you would have one thread on one side and one thread on the other. But it doesn't really matter if you're only using one thread, which side your thread ends up on. Okay, so following the numbers, give a little bit of uphill pressure as you're coming around the take-up lever right there, and there's a arrow showing which way to come from right to left. Come down here, there is a thread guide right there, and then there's a needle bar thread guide. Oh, I got it funny angle because I'm sitting at a funny angle right there. Okay, so now we're going to use that needle threader, which works wonderfully. But you need to make sure that you give it plenty of room, so lower your presser foot. Come under this hook here, push this down, and push it all the way down so that that fork hugs the back of the needle. Pull this across, go underneath the fork, and hold it lightly, but see how I'm holding it in a straight line, but I'm holding it lightly because when I lift this back up, I want it to be able to pull a loop of thread. That made a little bitty loop. I've got some tweezers here. You could probably also use a pin to grab that loop. You want to pull the loop of thread, leave the tail alone. Just let that flow right on through the needle, and we have threaded the needle. Now I'm going to show you how to bring up your bobbin thread. Go needle down by holding your thread tail, your needle thread tail, needle down, needle up, and there is our loop of thread. Now, I don't like getting my fingers close to the pointy end of the needle, so I'm going to show you my way of pulling up the bobbin thread once we have that loop. Take your top thread, hang on to it, pull it underneath the foot as if you're getting ready to sew, take the tail end of your top thread and swipe it straight back, and that grabs that loop of thread. Now you are ready to sew. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, give us a thumbs up. If you have comments or questions, you can leave those in the area down below. We have lots of other videos on this machine and on other machines here on our Montavilla YouTube channel, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Bye.